Hey, this is Brent Leary. I'm still hanging out in Vegas. I think I spent really the full first 6 months of the year in Vegas, but I'm still here. We're at Pega World 2019. Hey, it's actually a really nice day here in Vegas. It's morning, the sun is out, it's not really hot, and I actually am sitting with a cool guy that I've seen, I think, at the last 3 or 4 of these Pega World events.
Yeah.
Adrian Swinscoe, and he is a customer experience thought leader. He's a speaker, and he's also a writer. So he went from being an aspirant punk CX to actually writing the book on this. So Adrian, thank you for joining me, man.
You're welcome. Thanks, Brent. I mean, it's been, as you say, it's like nice. It's a beautiful morning here.
Yes.
It's not too hot yet. We're still in the partial shade, so it's cool. But it's, yeah, we have seen each other a few times at these things, like passing ships, like, hey, how you doing? Hey. kind of when we were at the behest of somebody else's, a schedule that's made up by somebody else, so you're kind of told where to go and who to be.
That's right.
And somebody else, and it's a bit like, oh, now we thought we'd actually, let's pick a time to
get a little time here, and especially it's beautiful. You guys can't really see the sun, but hey, it is really nice out here.
Yeah, no, it's great.
All right, so you wrote this book. It's your 3rd book.
Yeah.
It's Punk CX.
Yes.
All right, now you're going to have to explain this. All right. First of all, we know what the CX is, but what does the punk part of Punk CX stand for?
Right. So I was thinking about a little while ago. I was actually in the pub with a friend of mine.
This sounds like the right place to start.
Exactly. And then we were like, I was kind of bemoaning the stay of play and progress in the sort of the customer experience space, and I was a bit like, I'm a bit of a rant over a couple of pints of Guinness, as you do. And I was getting frustrated by all this sort of stuff, the same stuff coming up again and again and again. People talking about wanting to lead their fields, people wanting to talk about being different, but then nothing's changing, right? And I was a bit like, oh my God, give me a break. I wish somebody would do something a bit more punk about this, like just kind of break out a little bit. And that idea sat with me for a while. So like the idea of doing something a bit more punk, and then sort of, I think I ruminated for about 6 months, and then I was thinking about it more deeply, and I was thinking, actually, if you think about music and the evolution of musical genres, particularly in the 1970s, like in the run-up to punk, it made me think about, oh, is there something we can learn here? Because punk exploded at the back of prog rock in the 70s. Now, prog rock was a type of rock and roll which was very, very elaborate, very, very technical, quite long, self-indulgent, all that sort of stuff, and in danger of disappearing up its own arse in large part.
Yeah, like, what would be a good example of a prog rock?
Crumbs, like bands like Yes, bands like Emerson, Lake and Palmer,
oh, wow.
Early Genesis, kind of all that sort of stuff. So it's like not necessarily their classic, very memorable sort of like sing-along-y type of songs, but they're elaborate sort of like orchestral kind of
There's
pieces.
Like 5 movements to the song.
Oh my word!
You got to go to school to study to enjoy it. Or
yeah, and so once it was really popular, it was in danger of just being overindulgent and self-obsessed.
Yeah.
Now, that made me think. I was like going, well, the customer experience space, it's becoming increasingly functionalized, specialized, metricized, kind of made-up word, benchmarked, kind of all these maturity frameworks, kind of like, numbers and all these different things. And I was a bit like, on the number of like, never mind the number of software vendors that are in this sort of space. I think there's like a Martech 5000 kind of map around.
Yeah, now it's up to 7,000.
Oh my word. I mean, that just kind of gives you an idea of like how complicated it is. So I was thinking, well, so it feels like the CX space is exhibiting some of the same characteristics as the prog rock space, particularly if you take into account that many CX programs are not really hitting their mark to meet expectation objectives. And I was a bit like, okay, so if you got prog rock and then punk rock exploded at the back of prog rock with its DIY back to basics sort of approach, all heart and emotion sort of thing, daring to be different. And
so we're talking like Clash,
Sex Pistols, kind of, all this, and then,
right.
and it's not just that time as well. It's just that punk movement. So like some of my favorite bands, that punk bands, I love from the East Coast, sort of the Washington DC scene, like Fugazi, Minor Threat, Discord, the old Discord Records thing, and then from the West Coast, like bands like Bad Religion and stuff. And then we just get musical accompaniment, and you're there going, we're gonna cut to inside.
Yeah, we just got the disco right in the background here. All right, this is Brent Leary, and in a little bit of a different setting, we were actually having a conversation a little earlier, me and Adrian here, about Punk CX, and in the middle of our conversation, like disco music started playing. It was really loud, so we immediately said we need to get out of here. We can't have a conversation about Punk CX with, like, you know, something from the 70s that wasn't punk music.
No.
And then we end up finding a really cool location, and listen to what's playing right now.
Can't be getting better than the Clash.
I couldn't have planned it better if I had drawn it up. Anyway, so back with Adrian Swinscoe, and we're talking about Punk CX here. And so you were really just talking a little bit about prog music.
Yeah.
And kind of punk music being the counterbalance to prog music.
Absolutely.
And yeah, talk and how this all relates to customer experience.
So I was kind of talking about the idea that sort of prog rock, punk rock was born out of prog rock. It was almost the antithesis to it. It's like DIY, back to basics sort of approach, all heart and emotion, daring to be different, and actually being okay with the fact that not everybody needed to like you. Right, and that's kind of fine. And punk is like a broad, it's a very broad church. And then I was thinking, well, if the CX space is exhibiting some of the same characteristics as prog rock, therefore what would a punk version of CX look like? Because the thing that frustrated me about the whole sort of thing, the whole narrative discussion commentary right now, is there's all these companies that are talking about wanting to do things differently, be a leader in their field, kind of like to stand out, and then like nothing happens. And I'm a bit like going.
And is it also like you were saying with prog, it got so elaborate and kind of over the top, and you almost felt like the real essence of music and enjoying music is sit back, relaxing, and listen, and not studying for it, and then also kind of missing the essence of what you're actually about.
Well, exactly. So the book is not like any other book, because it's designed. It's very heavy on design and on graphics and color and things. So it's not like a black ink on white pages. It looks like a comic book. It looks like a fanzine, and that's exactly why. That's why it's sort of inspired by punk. It's trying to take that music analogy a little bit further. So rather than having a table of contents, we've sort of positioned the book as like having a track listing. So it's like, and the book's grouped into different sections, like different sort of themes. So it's almost like mini albums within a compilation, as it were. And one of the tracks, the first track in the book, is called "Are You an Artist or Are You Just Coloring In?" And I think that speaks to, that sort of frames the whole sort of thing, because I think there's many of these CX initiatives or programs and things, and it's just like painting by numbers, right? And like everybody's following the recipe but wanting to make different bread. You look at it just going, dude, you can't paint by numbers and expect to make a masterpiece, because art's not like that.
Right.
So the question is like, do you want to be good at coloring in, or do you want to be an artist?
You know, one of the things I loved about the book, you had do you call them tracks?
Yeah, tracks.
So you don't call them tracks, you call them tracks, which makes sense, it's punk music. You had one around this idea of you've been wanting to go to this restaurant for the longest of time. You go, the food is great, the service is great, so you would expect that you would have had a great overall experience there. But if you had to go to the bathroom and you went to the bathroom and it's a mess in there, it's like an indescribable smell and it's just nasty as all get out. What do you actually remember about your experience at the restaurant?
The smelly bathroom, right? And it also raises all the other questions. Like, well, if that's what the bathroom's like,
what's the kitchen like?
Going on in the kitchen? Like, the food might look great, but like, what are they making it? What sort of environment are they making it? And I think that's the point of that. It's like, the idea is like, do you have smelly bathrooms? So it's like an analogy which says, do you have smelly bathrooms in your business? Like, it could be like a payment process, or getting an invoicing kind of process, or it could be a delivery process, or it could be this, that, or it could be all sorts of different things that it could be as simple as the way that you answer the phone. Right? And it's like, that could be the thing that sets the tone, or not, kind of like for the whole of your experience.
That's the thing. I mean, if you've probably, this restaurant example, let's say it's like a Michelin 4-star or something like that. they spent a lot of money on getting the right people involved, the chefs, and making the place look nice. You know, the service is really great, but if you walk into a nasty bathroom, all that stuff that you just did
goes
away, and the only thing people are going to remember at the whole experience is the nasty bathroom.
Exactly, and I think that's the thing, is that the point of that sort of story, that analogy, is to make people think kind of holistically and systemically about the experience that they're trying to design and deliver, and like going, you know what, nobody it should be missed out here. It's like, you might say, people go, oh, they're just back office people, they don't kind of, they shouldn't be involved in, or they're not involved in service and experience. You're like going, hello, kind of like people that kind of we're in a hotel now, all the kind of the housekeeping staff, they are absolutely essential to the overall service experience.
Right, because it could be 10s across the board for certain things, but if there's a 1 in there, sorry.
Yeah, that's it. You're done.
I'm out. And so you also had an equation, a formula that you talked about.
So the other one, there's a lot of conversation around. We talk about customer experience, and then there's a bigger and there's a growing narrative around employee experience, and how those two things are sort of connected. And I wrote a piece a while ago which talked about, well, customer experience equals a function of employee experience, and I think that's true, because logically it makes sense. It's like, if your employees don't have a great great experience, then they're less likely to deliver a good customer experience. Yeah. So I'm not saying CX equals EX. I'm saying CX is a function of EX. But I think you have to kind of think bigger than that now, because I think there's so many companies that are relying on external contractors, consultants, agencies, kind of like outsourced kind of partners and things that are essential to everything from their service and product development to the actual delivery of their their overall business on a day-to-day basis. So the leading companies are thinking, well, actually, we're thinking about our employee experience and how that feeds into our customer experience, but the leading companies are also starting to think, well, what's the WX? What's the worker experience as well? Because if you're using people, if you're relying on people to, external people to deliver a good service and experience, then you've got to think about how you integrate them into your overall ecosystem. Right. So the bigger equation is CX is equal to a function of brackets EX plus WX, which is worker experience. So I think, again, you have to step back and take a broader view of it. Sometimes we take these things for granted because we think, oh, they're only contractors. You're like going, no, they're not. You have to treat them as if they're part of, you have to bring them inside your tent, as it were. Because if they're serving your end customers or they're involved in developing your overall experience, then you have to think more deeply about kind of how you integrate both your employees and your workers together.
They're part of the experience ecosystem. Yeah. You need them all to create the kind of experience you're
Absolutely.
All right, so where are we today, just generally speaking? Are companies still kind of looking at this from a prog rock perspective, or are they getting down to the bare essentials and really focusing and kind of hitting it on that punk rock side of the house?
I think we're still more in the former. When you said that, I was going to try and bang my head on the table. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I wrote the book, was because the book is like, and trying to be in true punk fashion, is trying to be an incitement to do something different. It's trying to annoy you, it's trying to irritate you, it's trying to inspire you, it's trying to motivate you. And you know what? I don't care if you don't like it. I really don't care, because I only care about the people that are going to care enough to want to do something different, and that's it. So it's a thing that I've made. I really like it. I really enjoyed making it. It feels like a piece of art, kind of like, so it's a personal art project. And I'm a bit like going, I couldn't give a hoot if you like it or not, but I care about the people that are going to care enough, that are going to want to do something different, and that's the point. Not everybody's got to be not everybody's got the appetite to be a punk. Not everybody's got the stamina or the kind of the motivation to be a punk. That's fine. Punk wasn't for everybody. That's fine. And this is just more of a case of light the touch paper and see what happens.
All right, so I got to ask, who is your all-time favorite punk band?
All-time favorite punk band? I mean, apart from the usual suspects like The Clash and The Damned and the Sex Pistols and all of those kind of people, I have two actually that are real favorites, and they're both American bands. The first one is a band called Fugazi that were out of Washington D.C. So they came out of the sort of disco records stable, and they were preceded by Minor Threat and other kind of bands like that. So Fugazi are a brilliant band. I love what they do. And then from the west coast of America, and the other bands that I really like are Bad Religion, and they are because they are one of the most tuneful. That's punk and tuneful doesn't necessarily go together, but they're one of the most tuneful and actually cerebral punk bands around. Wow. So you can actually sing along to their songs. The fact that the band themselves are actually they're physicists by background. They think about kind of like stuff, like big stuff, and write songs about it. So those are the two favorites.
All right. So I'm sitting here with Adrian Swinscoe.
Just give me a punk name.
Hey, where can people find the book?
So the book is available on Amazon in Kindle and a paperback kind of form. So it's on Amazon, Amazon in the US and in the UK, also in France and Germany and Japan and all around the place.
And where any good punk rock music can be found. Thanks, man.
All right. Thank you.
That was good.